Gildan Media, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Revenue Acceleration Rules. Supercharge sales and marketing through artificial intelligence, predictive technologies, and account-based strategies, by Shashi Upadhyay and Kent McCormick. Narrated by Eric Martin. Introduction. Imagine a world with one-to-one marketing. Your current and prospective suppliers and vendors understand your business needs, so when you open your inbox in the morning, it's not a flood of random offers. Instead, your email brings up a carefully curated small list of personalized offers that you're actually happy to receive. You know that what they're offering will be relevant to your business, and you know it will be worth your time to spend a few minutes perusing the content they've sent. The information they've sent you is not only entertaining, but it's engaging, and it will solve some of the pain points you're facing with your organization. In this world, the CMO is a master orchestrator of the customer experience, using data-rich technology to truly understand customers, so contextualized, personalized content is sent to the correct set of target contacts at the right accounts at the right time. Sounds like heaven, right? Unfortunately, that is not the world we live in today. We live in a world in which an abundance of email and advertising spam has taken over our inboxes like a poorly executed coup d'etat in a banana republic. The spam is in charge, but no one is happy with the end result. With the growth of generic, impersonal information flowing to prospects out of every company in the B2B world, engagement rates are down across the board for digital programs. In an attempt to block out the spam, people are turning away from any email, advertising, or content that comes their way. And no one can blame them. With the flood of generic information being flung at people today, it's a wonder we haven't all gone crazy. To deal with the flood, we ignore 90% of our inboxes and turn a blind eye to the advertising that covers the borders of any websites we visit. And it's not just marketing teams who should be blamed for this. There has been an uptick of generic, spammy email from sales teams as well. All this technology has done the exact opposite of what it was supposed to do: create intimacy with our customers. At the same time that this spam coup took place and we all lost control of our inboxes, CMOs at most major companies were rightly given more responsibility and more budget. Companies realize that marketing plays a major role in their pipeline creation and acceleration, and marketing organizations are becoming more horizontal so they can organize the messaging and activities that take place across their business. Marketing teams responded to this challenge by building more robust technology stacks to address their new responsibilities, and the marketing technology industry responded by growing at exponential rates in order to meet the technological demands of a new crop of data-savvy marketers. However, despite the increase in technology, most marketing teams are seeing declining engagement results that they're unable to explain. Without a clear way to explain the impact their teams have on revenues, CMOs will lose the responsibility they've been handed. This issue first came up when marketing teams started adding so many more tools to their technology stack. Many of the new solutions were built in a way that they inherently created their own silos of data, meaning that marketing teams who added 15 new tools over the past year also added 15 new data silos that they had to try to reconcile. This means there is no one place where marketing teams can go to see a clear picture and understand their customer and prospect accounts. There is a way to cure this growing problem of spam and impersonal content being thrown at every person in a database, and a way for CMOs to start achieving the kinds of measurable results they know their teams are capable of. In this book, we argue that the solution to this problem is twofold, and we'll delve into the specifics of how to start. First, companies need to integrate their data into one platform so they have a single view of all customer and prospects' insights. And second, they need to use artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning to drive analytics-based campaign actions that will move themselves closer to one-to-one marketing. In addition to helping companies start on this path toward targeted one-to-one marketing, we'll discuss the nuances that exist for different business models, including 1. Companies currently largely dependent on inbound leads, 2. Companies that are transitioning from inbound leads to an account-centric focus, 3. Companies that only have direct sales with little marketing support, and 4. Companies that rely more heavily on channel sales. We want readers to know that you're not alone. This is a problem most organizations are facing today. The solution is already out there, and the best companies have realized that data and insight about customers are the foundation on which any one-to-one program has to be built. They have started to put the technologies, the processes, and the metrics in place to take advantage of all the data they are gathering, so they can engage with their customers at the right time with the right message. A final word before you dive in. If you're a data-driven marketer and really want to understand the impact of data and AI on marketing, read the whole book and pay special attention to chapters 3 and 6. If you're just curious about the space and not looking for an in-depth understanding of the data framework behind AI platforms, you can skim those 2 chapters and focus your attention on the rest of the book. Chapter 1. The CMO's Challenge. The aim of marketing is to understand a customer so well that the product or service fits him and sells itself. Peter Drucker. Chief Marketing Officers, CMOs, have the toughest job in the C-suite today. They stand at the intersection of a set of convergent changes never encountered before in the history of business-to-business, B2B, marketing. They are being asked to digitize the front office, take ownership of customer data, support sales with leads, find new market opportunities, and explain the impact of their spending on revenue, all at once. Unlike in other functions, most CMOs today have not had the opportunity to gradually ease into the role. There is nothing about their training that could have prepared them. There are no marketing academies yet, companies that trained and graduated large numbers of well-trained, competent marketers. As a result, most CMOs take a varied path through their careers, and it is not unusual to find people who started out in marketing events, inside sales, or product management in a CMO role. What's common across these paths? Nothing except the ability to be a good generalist and to learn quickly on the job. Business-to-business CMOs have an especially hard task because, unlike their business-to-consumer, B2C counterparts, they are measured by the success of a function they don't control, the sales team. For a very long time, B2B marketers have been subservient to the needs of the sales team. The wide availability of data and techniques for generating it is starting to change that, but there is a long way to go. As if this were not enough, the constant technology shocks and hype cycles further make it hard for CMOs to make any decisions. There are over 5,000 marketing technologies available at the time this book is being written, according to Scott Brinker's Marketing Technology Landscape Supergraphic. Not only does the CMO have to find people who understand these technologies, but the bar is even higher as these technologies need to be selected, integrated, and deployed into existing or new workflows. The very fact that most marketing organizations already use 17 different technologies on average shows how hard the problem is. All of this creates a credibility problem for the CMO. We have often found CMOs struggling with making the kind of impact they would like to. Far too often, their CEOs are unhappy with the gap between expectation and reality. Why can't we move faster? Why can't we find more leads? Why aren't we growing current customers? Why can't we identify new markets? What did we get for all the program money we spend? And why can't you hold on to anyone on your team? No wonder, then, that CMO tenure is at its lowest in history, according to research from executive search firm Spencer Stuart. On the bright side, if the CMO could answer all these questions, why does one need a CEO? In fact, we will argue later that the CMO role will become the best training ground to be the CEO of any B2B organization. But we are getting ahead of ourselves here. Let's start with what a marketing organization is supposed to do. The fundamental goals of marketing. Peter Drucker, one of the modern gurus of management, defined marketing's primary role as understanding the customer so well that the product would sell itself. In the real world, there is never one customer, nor even a few major segments. In fact, the real promise of modern marketing is that a brand can interact with each customer on his or her terms, create a unique experience just for that customer, and engage, inform, and educate each customer through the process. This was the core idea behind the seminal book The One-to-One Future by Don Peppers and Martha Rogers. The book was more than 20 years ahead of its time, as the technology to implement these ideas were not available in 1996. That is now changing rapidly. The goal of a modern marketing organization is threefold. 1. Understand what's unique about every customer. 2. Craft a tailored customer experience for each of them at scale. And 3. Lead them through a journey that will create the most value for customers and for the provider as a consequence. Why is this so hard? The deconstruction of B2B. B2B was a simpler place a decade ago. Marketers managed the brand, created product brochures, and ran events. Sales reps did everything from prospecting to closing to expanding the customer base. Then, specialization happened, and companies found it more expedient to split up the work across separate mini-functions. New groups emerged in the front office: the demand gen team, the SDRs, the closers, the customer success team, and so on. Over time, even these specialties continue to break down into narrower silos. It is not uncommon in most organizations to have different people responsible for email campaigns, ads, videos, social media, and more. This kind of specialization creates a huge challenge for CMOs because they can't be experts in everything and have to rely on a large group of people who know more than they do. The app explosion. The deconstruction of the front office has been further accelerated by vendors. Each role now has its own app. There are apps for posting videos, tracking social media, and even apps to manage other apps. You would think that marketers would be happy with this plethora of choice. Instead, they are suffering from a curse of abundance. As Scott Brinker has pointed out on his MarTech blog, this abundance creates an inability to digest all this innovation and freezes marketers into place where they can't even do the obvious things well. The explosion of apps creates a secondary problem in that each of them creates its own data, has its own middleware, and is focused on its own set of reports. Since most of the apps are solving a narrow problem, they come with proximate metrics. For example, an oft-used metric is percentage of opened emails. While you would expect this has something to do with the ultimate metric, revenue generated, the connection is not so clear. Clever marketers have been known to increase the percentage opened metric by using images and videos that entertain but have nothing to do with the product. There is higher engagement, but no additional positive impact on the ultimate goal of more revenue. Specialization sustains vanity metrics. Deconstruction of the marketing organization and the spread of apps is not the whole story, however. The real problem is that each app generates its own data and focuses on a narrow set of metrics that may or may not have to do with revenue generation. Vanity metrics are proxies for the ultimate goals of revenue and margin growth. These metrics create the impression and comfort of being metrics-driven, yet they have neither explanatory nor predictive value. Imagine a board meeting where the CMO and the CSO are presenting. While the CSO talks about sales and pipeline growth, which anyone can relate to, the CMO talks about increase in visitors to the website and the click-through rates of the latest email campaign. Everyone is left wondering whether the CMO has a real handle on the revenue generation problem. Since the vendors aren't doing anything to connect the impact of their favored metrics to revenue and margin growth, the job is left to the marketing team to figure out how to connect their tactics and programs to sales growth. The unique aspect of the CMO's role is that they have 1,000 instruments, yet only one metric that the CEO cares about. This metric is total opportunity created. Therefore, this is a classic optimization problem. Set up your factory from a choice of hundreds of technologies and providers so that you can maximize total opportunity created. Each of these technologies generates a massive amount of data that is either useless or confusing from the perspective of creating opportunities. For example, take the metric of open rates for emails. Clearly, a low open rate is bad news, but is a high open rate necessarily good news? You can always increase open rate by targeting a very narrow segment or creating entertaining content that has nothing to do with your offer or positioning in the market. Too much of marketing technology stack is sub-optimized in the sense that it focuses on these proximate goals and metrics instead of on the ultimate goal of maximizing opportunity and revenue creation. Deconstruction equals depersonalization. Unfortunately, the net result of all these trends is a movement away from one-to-one. That's right. The net effect of marketing automation and all the ad tech unleashed in the world has been a drive toward less engagement, less personalization, more spam, and generally a worse customer experience. What's a CMO to do? It is against this backdrop that two trends have arisen simultaneously, ABM and AI, in order to address the declining engagement rate problem. Let's start with ABM, account-based marketing. Sales leaders are used to thinking in terms of accounts. You will never hear them say, "I just closed a deal with Joe Schultz." Instead, they will take pride in closing the deal at Apple or IBM or wherever it is that Joe Schultz works. Marketers, on the other hand, tend to think in terms of contacts, leads, and people, because a lead is a person. Contacts versus accounts is a source of tremendous friction inside organizations. The myriad of technologies that the CMO deploys don't follow a consistent schema or definition in terms of how they define accounts, leads, and so on. As a result, all the work of mapping data, matching it, deduping it, attributing it correctly, and then trying to derive insights from it, all of it falls on the CMO's organization, which is then not well suited to execute because the data is unusable. It's partly in recognition of the waste created by the undifferentiated spray and pray approaches and the cost of backing into an account-based view for sales that practitioners of lead-based marketing have started to shift toward ABM. More on this later. What is ABM? Sales has always been account-based. Marketing must transition to ABM from lead-based programs. Opportunity is really at the intersection of marketing and sales, helping to manage what goes to sales, the mix of inbound leads, scored leads, and outbounds, unresponsive target markets. Account-based marketing and sales, ABM and S, starts with target accounts, creates campaigns for these, sets up nurture, and helps to manage what goes to sales. ABM is the right way to do things. It is the B2B equivalent of one-to-one marketing. ABM saves money by taking focus away from uninterested accounts. ABM puts sales and marketing on the same page and integrates sales activities, such as territory planning, with marketing activities, like field marketing. A full ABM and S solution will cover everything from modeling, target setting, campaign creation, threshold setting for passing to sales, content, portfolio management across different segments, models, and reporting and measurement of value. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. Machine learning is a relatively new discipline of computer science. It helps software learn through examples. AI includes machine learning as well as a few other methods like computer vision and search. Artificial intelligence, AI, lurks behind consumer applications, often without the end user's knowledge. From identifying images to recommending friends to serving the right ad, web-scale data has rendered many old algorithms, for example neural networks, potent and capable of beating humans at similar tasks. In the world of marketing and sales, the equivalent of the new AI are predictive marketing and sales applications. For tasks like targeting accounts, micro-segmenting audiences, and matching optimal actions, they are starting to take over the workloads of marketers and inside sales professionals. Opportunity for the CMO. The combination of ABM and AI offers a magic bullet to the CMO. AI helps discover targets that are likely to convert and therefore move marketers back to the one-to-one world. ABM helps create a common language between sales and marketing and creates further alignment. And since AI is based on data, it makes it a lot easier for the CMO to talk in terms of real numbers and hard metrics. Moreover, given the very nature of AI, it needs fewer human experts and will take over the mundane data tasks that marketers hate and give them the bandwidth to focus on creative aspects of their business processes. In the rest of the book, we will cover how these two trends are transforming marketing, aligning them with sales, and help you accelerate your revenue generation by using them in concert. First, we'll look at how critical having clean, accurate data is to these processes, and how to set your data foundation correctly. Chapter 2. ABM and AI. As discussed in Chapter 1, account-based marketing, ABM, flips the traditional funnel on its head. In contrast to traditional lead generation, ABM starts by identifying those accounts you want to convert. Focus on quality versus quantity. Everything flows from this list of targets. Messages, content, and offers are tailored to those accounts and personas within accounts. Finally, marketing and sales executes tactics designed to convert, not just capture names or fill lead forms. Most companies have been doing account-based marketing for years. However, their efforts have been targeted at their top 50 to 100 accounts because of the resources required for selecting target accounts, researching their key challenges, developing customized offers, and driving campaigns in a coordinated way between sales and marketing. Scaling this approach to the entire account base has proven challenging. B2B buyers are savvier than ever, armed with more choices, more information, and an expectation for a B2C-like experience when it comes to interactions with brands. We are seeing three key trends that set up some fundamental challenges for B2B marketers. 1. Buyers are increasingly self-directed. According to research from the Corporate Executive Board, www.ceb global.com/marketing-communications/digital-evolution.html, B2B buyers do not contact suppliers directly until 57% of the purchase process is complete. Just as they're empowered to do so in their personal lives, B2B buyers are conducting research online before engaging with brands. Brand marketers are thus challenged with finding and reaching buyers at each stage of the buying process, before they raise their hands, after they raise their hands, and after they engage with sales. 2. B2B buying has become a team sport. Up to 17 people are involved in an enterprise buying decision. That's up from 10 just 2 years ago. brands must find and engage with all the relevant parties, economic buyers, decision-makers, and influencers within the accounts they wish to convert to customers. 3. Buyers expect relevance and insights. According to a study by Serious Decisions, seriousdecisions.com/blog/it's not content, it's a lack of buyer insights that's the problem, with dashes between each word. Up to 80% of B2B content goes unused. It's not that buyers are averse to content, it's that much of it is generic, irrelevant, and not actionable. 75% of business executives surveyed said they were willing to read unsolicited marketing materials if they were relevant to their industry and role, per research from ITSMA, itsma.com/category/article/page/38/. In short, B2B brands must have relevant and meaningful conversations with multiple individuals across multiple channels at each stage of the buying process. Unfortunately, traditional broad-based lead generation is not working. Is it any wonder that less than 1% of leads turn into revenue? While ABM is certainly not new, companies have been doing it for years. Thanks to new technologies, companies are poised to take advantage of ABM at greater scale. Just as the B2C space has had the one-to-one personalization movement, account-based marketing has been establishing more mindshare among B2B marketers. There are various definitions of ABM, but we've taken the standard Serious Decisions definition and summarized it as follows. In traditional lead generation, marketers will typically lead the buyer down the traditional marketing and sales funnel we are all aware of. The goal is to capture as many leads as possible, without regard to how likely those leads are to convert. That is left to sales in most organizations as part of the qualification process. Marketers start with their own company's value proposition, on which all messages, content, and offers will be based. They'll then execute tactics that get the word out as broadly as possible in hopes of capturing as many leads as possible. Benefits of ABM. Account-based marketing drives business benefits in various ways. 1. It aligns sales and marketing. Unlike traditional lead-based marketing, where marketing cares about getting leads and sales cares about closing accounts, ABM revolves around marketing and selling to a set of accounts or segments that are jointly defined by sales and marketing. 2. It relies on a heavily personalized approach. Personalized content delivers 5 to 8 times return on investment, or ROI, on marketing spend and can lift sales by 10% or more. 3. It applies not just to finding and landing net new customers, but also to expanding your relationships with existing customers as well. Scaling ABM requires AI. Most companies have been doing account-based marketing for years. Their efforts are targeted at their top 50 to 100 accounts because of the resources required for selecting target accounts, researching their key challenges, developing customized offers, and driving campaigns in a coordinated way between sales and marketing. As the marketing technology stack has evolved, however, companies are able to use artificial intelligence everywhere to automate and scale ABM to all their accounts, independent of target market size. AI platforms provide the data and insights needed to execute on the sophisticated segmentation and personalization required for successful ABM programs. They bring several capabilities to bear. 360-degree view of prospects and customers. AI-based insight platforms provide you the ability to look at all the data you already have about your prospects and customers. For example, marketing automation, sales interactions, CRM, support tickets, transactions, product usages, and so on. Additionally, AI platforms add in external data you may not have about your prospects and customers, or easily capture. For example, growth rates, funding information, credit risk data, technographic data.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?